Bill Middleton's ancestors purchased land and settled in the Garner, North Carolina area in 1814. To this day, Bill and other descendants reside on that land. When Bill Middleton retired in 1989, he set out to trace his roots. After years of research, Bill has filled a 2.5-inch binder with his findings. In September 2020, just before Bill's 90th birthday, Karen Padgett with the Garner Area Historical Society asked Bill to share his Garner heritage as recorded in the Book of Middleton.
Bill, your family goes back in this area for many generations. Do you know when the first of your ancestors came to the Panther Ranch and Garner area?
The first one here was Stephen Jewell. He was my great-great-grandfather. And he bought 827 acres of land in Wake County on the south side of Swift Creek and moved from Hyde County in 1815. He actually bought the land on December 15, 1814. They built a house which is known as the Middleton Jewell House. East end of the house is 2 stories. And that part was added on to the original house when my grandfather married Mr. Jewell's granddaughter. My grandfather, Middleton, was raised in Duplin County. After he finished high school, he got a job with the railroad, and he worked on putting the tracks, the original railroad tracks through Garner. After working on the railroad for a while, that he got a job with Mr. Jewell. And so he came and worked on the farm with Mr. Jewell. And that's where he met my grandmother, Mr. Jewell's granddaughter. And she was the youngest of all the children. They had 12 children. My grandmother passed away at an early age. The house was deeded to her or willed to her. So of course my grandfather got it because he was married to her.
Did you ever live in the Middleton Jewell house? Did you grow up in that
No,
house?
my father was born there and he grew up there.
I bet you visited there as a child, though.
Oh, many, yeah, every weekend at least. My father went to Cary High School. It was a boarding school at that time. And he went to school at Cary, rode his horse from here over there and boarded, kept his horse there all week and then come home on the weekends. After he finished high school, he went to North Carolina A&M, which is now NC State University. And he took a 2-year farm management course. He got a job after that in Yadkin County. And that's where he met my mother. He was drafted into World War I from Yadkin County. So, of course, when you're drafted from someplace, you have to go back there to be discharged.
Do you know where he served in World War I?
In France, mostly. They were married shortly after he came back from the Army. In my youngest days, we were living on Farm Road here. It used to be part of the Jewell land, but Ralph Crowder from Raleigh bought that part of the land, and we raised some of the first Hereford cattle that were known in this area. And we, of course, raised all the feed for them, in the winter, for the winter. And we cut up silage. We had a silo that was dug out of the ground, and we lined it with like tar paper or something, And then when we filled it up, I put silage in it. Then we had to top it off with soil, and cover it over good so that it would go through its.
It would break down.
It would break down like pickled eggs, On the farm there, we had a big old Mack truck. I assume it was about the early 1900s, maybe in the 1910s model truck. Had no starter on it. Had to start up with a current. Had no electric lights. I was driving a farm tractor and that old truck out in the field when we were hauling hay and stuff in. So we had 2 chicken houses down here. One of them was about where I've got that one, that garage, outbuilding down there. And the other one was back this way from there. And we had chickens. We raised fryers in one building, and we had layers in the other building.
So did you have to gather eggs?
Oh, Lord. Yes. You had to feed them and water them and all this kind of stuff. They had no running water, so you had to carry it to the barn.
Oh my gosh. Was there a well right out here?
Yes, there was a well right at the edge of my driveway out there. But after we moved back down here, I was 10 years old when we moved back here. And I remember Pearl Harbor Day very well.
Oh, wow.
I was 10 years old when Pearl Harbor Day happened.
Did you hear that on the radio?
We read in the newspaper. No, we didn't have a radio. We didn't have electricity.
Wow.
We had no electricity until I was 15 years old,
Oh, wow.
1946. We did have what they called a farm and home generator. It was a Delco plant.
Right.
Had 16 2-volt batteries wired in series to give us 32 volts.
Wow.
So we had to buy 32-volt light bulbs. We did have a sawmill. He did mostly custom sawing. That means that the people would bring their logs to us, and we would saw them right across the road here. We would saw it, and they'd tell us what they wanted, what kind of lumber they wanted out of it. And my daddy would saw it according to what they requested.
How about that? Was it a steam-driven?
Oh no, we had a gasoline engine. But during World War II, gas was kind of hard to get sometimes. Of course, we had rationing coupons. I was always a worker, from the chicken house to the sawmill. And if we'd have a breakdown at the sawmill, sometimes I hear my mother out on the front porch up there say, "Billy, come to the house." She had something for me to do here while they were preparing the sawmill.
Well, where did you go to elementary school?
Oh, I went 12 years in the same building, which is now the old folks live in it.
Oh, it's GPAC now, the old Garner High School. So you went there all 12 years. How
All
about
12
that?
years.
How about that?
Started in 1936, and I still have some friends that I started first grade with. We've been friends for 83 years.
Oh my goodness. And y'all kept up with each other over the years. How about that?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
If it hadn't been for coronavirus, I would have seen some of them recently, but you might know one of them, Oliver Banks.
Oh yes.
Oliver Banks and I were very good friends.
How about
First through 12th, we were in the same room all the time we were in school, except when we took different courses in high school.
Well, how'd you get to school?
School bus. And the roads were not paved. The nearest paved road was Old Garner Road. What's Old Garner Road now was Highway 70. And that was the nearest paved road to us.
Right.
But in the wintertime, especially when we'd have snow and ice and a lot of rain and mud on those, going down that hill down there,
Oh yeah.
I've been on a school bus and we get stuck going down the hill.
Oh my God.
There was a Turner School.
Did it serve the kids of the Panther Branch Township too?
Oh, yes, yes. I don't know how many. My older sister was the last group, age group that went. Now, this is a picture of the students at Turner School around 1910.
Oh my goodness, wow.
My youngest uncle was in there somewhere.
Let's see. The teacher's name was Lena Middleton.
Lana, that's my
Lana
aunt.
Middleton?
She's my aunt.
Okay, how about that?
She's my aunt.
Ethel Middleton?
Yeah, she's my aunt. She was the oldest. Let's see, my father was the oldest and she was second.
Mm-hmm.
She was third.
And I see all kinds of familiar names in that class. Brits.
I guess my uncle's not in there. They were too young.
There's Peyton Middleton right
Peyton,
there.
that's the one I'm looking for. All right.
How about that? There were
He was-
Salses, Turners,
Stevens,
Ernest Sauls, Sam Sauls.
Bill Williams, Annie Bell, William Turner. That looks like him right there.
Mm-hmm. He was a little fella.
He was the youngest of the family. This is Turner School.
Mm-hmm.
And the men are over there working on it.
So it was a community effort to keep the school up.
Let me see. Left of the ladder. That's him right there, my dad.
Mhm.
And Jim Middleton standing on the porch.
How about that?
That's my daddy's daddy.
And Leon Middleton.
That's my daddy's brother
Mhm.
standing over here. Now my uncle Leon lived here until, well, he helped my dad run the sawmill for him
Mhm.
when they were younger.
Mm-hmm.
And so I guess it got to the place that both of them couldn't make a living on it. So anyhow, he left here and went to Wilmington. And he drove a gasoline truck.
The Falls of Swift Creek was just down the road from the Middleton land. It's in the area now known as Lake Benson. It was a great place to swim. Bill also remembers Rand's Mill, located on the falls. It's near the Swift Creek Bridge on Highway 50. Note the tune that the clock plays as Bill reminisces about times at Rand's Mill.
With the horse and wagon, we would go down to the mill and take some corn with us, get cornmeal ground, and take wheat to get flour ground to make biscuits. We, about the only thing we bought at the grocery store was sugar and salt.
Where did you have to go to buy, to shop, or what stores
Oh,
did you
we
have
went to
go?
Garner. There was one of the Buffaloes had a all-purpose store where he sold groceries and hardware.
So that was the closest place to go when you were
Yeah, well, we had some country stores. Percyville had one right over here off of the Highway 50.
Mm-hmm. There used to be one kind of across from New Bethel Church up there.
Holders,
Okay, Holders.
yeah. Clarice Brown's mother and daddy ran that.
Mm-hmm.
They had a dairy farm there.
So your ancestors were Middletons, Jewels, Buffaloes, correct?
Mm.
Are there any other family names that we would recognize?
Most of them married, people in the surrounding areas because they didn't have a way to travel back then like we do now.
Right. Now, most of your ancestors, were they buried in the Hollins Church Cemetery, or was there a Jewel cemetery?
Well, there's a jewel cemetery right down here in the woods.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Come look.
Come over here and look.
That's the plat of the Stephen Jewell Cemetery.
Oh,
Graveyard.
okay. All right.
It's made by my father.
All right. And he was Ransom.
I was junior.
They were
I'm junior.
Okay.
But he went by Ransom, yes.
It's great that you have this plot that shows where all the graves were.
Shows where my grandmother is.
Okay.
He says
Nanny Buffalo.
His mother.
Nanny Buffalo.
Nanny Buffalo, my mother.
Wow, how about that? Are all the graves marked, Bill?
They had tombstones.
Tombstones on them?
Yes.
Okay. You mentioned a minute ago making ice cream and candy. Is that something that y'all did?
Yes, well, yes, we didn't make ice cream as much, but we did make candy.
What kind of candy? What'd you make? The pulled
We
kind?
made fudge and we made seafoam and
Oh my God.
we make some with pecans in it, you know,
Whoa. Oh my
all that
God.
kind of stuff.
Were there pecan trees around here?
There were some pecan trees down at the house.
Uh-huh.
We called it down at the house
Mhm.
from here, you know.
Mhm.
And but they were those small pecans. They
Right.
were no bigger than that.
Mm-hmm.
They had the best flavor. Had the best flavor.
For generations, Middleton families have attended Holland's United Methodist Church, which was founded in 1812. It's fitting that when Martha Brannon started visiting Holland's in 1952, she attracted the attention of 21-year-old Bill. Early in their courtship, Bill was drafted into the Army. Before leaving, Bill presented to Martha a ring and asked her to marry him. They were married when Bill returned from Korea.
Well, I'm sure glad Miss Martha visited Holland's church.
Well, I am too. It's been 65 years ago.
Have you ever lived any place other than Garner?
Well, I was drafted in the Army in 1953.
Okay.
So my father was at work in World War I. My brother was in World War II, and he went to Germany and France also. And then I went to Korea.
How about that?
I
Oh
was
my goodness.
about 10, 11 months in Korea.
Mhm.
But thank the Lord that the shooting stopped before I got there.
Thank goodness.
So
Thank goodness.
I did not have to participate in any fighting or anything.
Mhm. Wow.
But it was a long ways from home. I want to read you a little bit about my daddy here.
Okay.
He was the son of James and Nanny Buffalo Middleton. He was born June 8, 1893 in Wake County. He attended Turner School, which was located about a half-mile west of current NC 50 on his what currently 1010 highway during his early childhood. He attended Cary Academy, later named Cary High School, for his high school education. After college, he worked on a farm in Yadkin County near Yadkinville, where he met his wife-to-be. Ola
Elizabeth Hutchins. How about that? And he was drafted into the Army October 3rd, 1917 at Yadkinville. He was assigned to Company D, 306th Regiment Engineers, 81st Division, known as the Wildcat Division, at Camp Jackson, South Carolina. He was further assigned to the Topographical Department of the Engineers, where he became proficient at soil erosion control, land and title surveys and mapping, lines and grades, and topographic mapping, and checking the work by triangulation. So he did surveying.
Yeah.
How about that? He spent approximately 12% of his time teaching the fundamental principles of the activities named above. After he returned to civilian life, he used the knowledge he gained in the Army to help the farmers in his community practice erosion control by assisting them with the building of terraces and through consultation on erosion control. His company was sent to France during World War I, where he achieved the rank of corporal. He was separated from military service June 20th, 1919 at Camp Jackson, South Carolina. 5 months later, William Ransom Middleton and Ola Elizabeth Hutchins were married in Yadkin County, North Carolina on October 15th, 1919. They moved to Wake County and lived on part of the Stephen Jewell land in Panther Branch Township. Ransom was a farmer and became a sawmill operator in the community. He was a very active member of Holland's United Methodist Church and of the William T. Bain Masonic Lodge. Well, thank you so much for being willing to talk to us today. I hope we haven't worn you out with all the questions and the talking.
I enjoy talking about it. That's the reason Martha's gone. Okay, wait a minute now. Do you want me to go to the Middletons? That's the wrong James Middleton. He was in Revolutionary War.
Oh my goodness. You've traced him back to the Revolutionary War.
Honey, I've traced him back to Denbigh, Wales.
Oh my goodness.
And that's where the prince,
How about
that's where she is from.
Oh my goodness.
Her name is Middleton too, you know.